Right, I will call this meeting of the Blight Review Board to order. It is Wednesday, March 8th, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. And the first order of business is to take action on the minutes of the meeting from February 8th, 2023. Have you all had a chance to review the minutes?
Yep.
Okay. Are any additions, subtractions, or edits proposed? Okay. Then I will ask for a motion to approve the minutes as drafted. All right. Michael moves.
Second.
Sue seconds. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that is unanimous. Second item on our agenda is further discussion concerning commercial jurisdiction. I see, Frank, you're here in the audience. Do you have something you want to say in that regard?
Shortly. I don't know what you're going to do with extras. You want me to keep them or?
Why don't you keep them in case there are some other folks from your committee? You know, okay. Do you want to come up here and use
Yeah,
this?
well, or else.
Because I'm
I
still-
can
no,
use this.
either way is
Or
good.
you use that mic.
Oh, whichever's fine. I'm waiting for this thing to. You do, but please go right ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Frank Kemp, Chairman of the RTM's Town Government Structure and Administration Committee, better known as good old TGS&A. Glad we have the opportunity to return to the topic of adjusting the current residential blight ordinance to include commercial blight. Since we met on February 8th, the matter has been referred to Town Council, and he has prepared recommended changes to Chapter 12 of the Town Code. And to do exactly that, include commercial properties within the existing ordinance. You have a copy of his recommendations for reference, and I took the liberty earlier this afternoon to distribute it to your email address for reference. And that would be to our colleagues who are not here today as well. In this document, you'll notice the quite unexpected turn of events that resulted in a very economical change to the ordinance. I was anticipating that there would be a lot of writing and cobbling together associated with this. But you will see that in the red-lined exhibit, there are only 5 minor changes of just adding the word commercial.
Entity,
Entity
or whatever.
Your commentary of February 8th was well received, as well as the comments of Jeremy Ginsburg and First Selectman Monica McNally. You'll note that of the things we discussed last time, the criteria for determining blight is unchanged. Your concern about grass in the parking lot or used cars and derelict cars at a used car lot was seen to be addressed by the existing criteria. And we didn't really have to change it. It was found to be sound. And your concerns about a higher fine for the commission, for the commercial interests, your concern was heard, although it was felt that the language and procedures that are in the current statement are sound and applied at the end of a deliberate series of citations and hearings, and that the monetary difference between 100 and 200 in fines would not be a material topic to a corporation. Therefore, in terms of simplicity and directness, it was decided to leave the fine at $100.
Frank, just so I'm clear, so that was the feeling of the TGSA committee, or are you summarizing all the other discussions? Just so I know who, looked through this.
On Monday night, the Rules Committee assigned this matter to be considered by committees prior to the consideration at the next RTM meeting on the 20th. And the three committees are Planning and Zoning as primary, Public Health and Safety, and TGS&A as secondary.
Okay.
It's just fine. There has been some concern that a bill in Hartford might complicate our actions if and when it's passed during this legislative session. I've given you a copy of H.R. 5099. It is a bare bones skeleton proposal at this point. It's not been fleshed out with any implementing instructions or such. So it's anybody's guess as to whether it will be amended, whether it will actually come to the floor, whether it will get out of committee, but it's out there. Now, in discussion with town council, he recommended that we proceed as planned, that including a commercial blight within our purview is not in conflict with that, and in fact several other major municipalities already have commercial blight ordinances despite this new proposal. So he recommended that we go ahead, and in fact, if this passes and if it's appropriate, we can always go back and amend our resolution to get under the protection or acknowledgement, at least acknowledge its presence. So we know it's out there, but we don't know whether it will pass or not, and we don't know whether it will be appropriate for us. So we're going to proceed. So
if I recall my conversations with council also, is that the notion is that if the state was silent about commercial properties, then that would not affect our ability to go farther in our ordinances to create or to enter an area that the state has not adjudicated on or legislated on. And that it would also be highly questionable if there could be greater detail in this proposal and if it's ever passed into legislation, but it would be highly unusual or highly unlikely that the legislature would, forbid a municipality from creating a commercial blight ordinance locally. Number one, because they already exist in some others, and number two, there just wouldn't necessarily be a basis, for it. I mean, is that your understanding also, Frank?
Clearly, this is not clear. There's probably a good Latin phrase for de facto or to do something that applies to the fact that municipalities all over the state already have commercial blight ordinances.
Right.
And then why this is authorizing post facto, I don't know what the Latin would be, but they're doing something that already is in effect.
Right.
And so now, there we are. And if we want to move forward with this, then that's what we're doing. So it's out for consideration now by the RTM. RTM will take it up on the 20th. Usually when ordinances are passed like that, they have an effective date on them.
Right.
And that has not been assigned, but I would say an effective date in 2 months would probably be appropriate, so that you don't pass a regulation, say it's effective tomorrow. It's appropriate to put an effective date on it, and I don't know what that is at the moment. Probably 60 days.
Right. Any questions for Frank on this?
No.
Well, thank you greatly, for
Well, again,
your work and
we were surprised
and
that
keeping
it
us.
just turned out, after all this discussion, to be as simple as those 5 little changes.
You know what? Nothing surprises me anymore in government.
It's really pretty nice.
It's terrific,
All right. Do you mind if I stay for the rest of the meeting?
Please.
All right, good.
Please. All right. Moving on to item 4, review of the status of the property, subject to blight review. Mr. Salito, please.
Okay. Let me just sign back on here. Okay. There we go. Well, let's see. Where are we here? Got it. There we are, sorry. And we're in March. Okay. Thank you. Go to full screen. Good. Here we go. All right. Sorry, we're going to start off with 16-001. This has been, just took updated photos of this property. This one is already, it's still on hold. Property's, being kept short and somewhat, in order. Could use a spring cleanup, but we'll deal with that. Technically, it's just the condition of the house is failing right now, which would be just one violation, so it doesn't necessarily qualify as blight anymore, but we're keeping it on to make sure that the owner's family continues to maintain the outside of the property. We did receive contact from a bank representative, which he's been emailing me regularly about this property, just to make sure that that the bank knows what's going on with regards to the amount of fines. Evidently, he claimed that the owner's family has stopped communicating with them as well, with the bank. So he had a little bit of concern and wanted just to let me know that that's what happened. He did ask if it's no longer accumulating fines, what the town's procedure might be toward collecting the fines that have been accrued, accrued, thank you, accrued to this point. And, I said, I'll bring it up at the meeting today, but generally, as long as it's kind of a point that we haven't really discussed, or the board has really discussed in terms of trying to collect outstanding fees. It's no longer accumulating, but the amount of fines on the property is $26,000. Yeah. And he was just curious if the town had any intention of, at some point, forcing a foreclosure. Obviously, then the bank would have to get involved in order to collect.
Is this occupied?
No, it's not occupied, no. No, it's vacant. It's been vacant for quite a long time.
Is there a lien on the property?
Yes. We have a lien on the property for the full amount.
So of 26,300.
Right.
So at some point, whether the property was taken by foreclosure by the bank or the owners attempted to sell it, in order to clear the title, they'd have to take care
Yeah.
of the lien, whether that's negotiating it or just paying it or the proceeds or something. I mean, that's what would be what would happen with the
Yeah.
lien.
So the city, the town, I'm sorry, wouldn't force a foreclosure for a small amount. They would end up just waiting patiently until another disposition comes about.
Okay.
Okay, no, that's good. I'll let them know that. That's fine. That's just a picture of the backyard. It's getting a little beat up, the backyard. Weather downfall, things like that. Okay, so we'll move to 17-011. This is already accumulating fines cited. There's liens on the property. And there's been no improvement to the property. You see one of the cars is there. One of the unregistered vehicles is there. This is the front of the house is still the same.
So with regard to the lien filed for $39,600, that figure, this is continuing to accumulate?
Oh, yes.
So is that the latest figure, or?
No, that's just what the lien has right now. And that lien was filed May 19th.
Right.
So, yeah, there's another 10 months of fines that can be, if the board wanted to, you could have the town attorneys update the lien for the remainder, or what's owed to date. But obviously, it's still accruing, so that would be up to,
The board to?
yeah.
And that, just for people who are watching or who may check in on this for their own edification, so that's really the process. The town will file a lien at a given time, and those fines continue to accrue. Except in the cases as our first property where we've held them in check, and then from time to time the town, as it may deem necessary and proper, will update that lien figure filing.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I recall, I believe that the board had mentioned trying to update it every 6 months, or, there's no set form exactly right now, just
Right.
whatever you wish to do. Okay, that's what this one. Okay, we'll move to 17-013. This is one of our success stories, in a sense. The structure's officially down. It's filled in and fenced, and I don't think there's any more that the Blight Review Board will do with this property, which is fine. So really looking for permission to close the complaint. If so wish, we can take it off the board.
I think, I would prefer to consider such an action when we have our chair and Mr. Washeka, and let that be an action of the full board. But for edification
Okay.
purposes now, at this point, there's really not a blight condition existent.
Yes.
And with this one, had we ever filed any liens, or did we just have the?
No, because it was, the owners attended the meetings and were cooperative, it never got to the point where we were finding
It was
the
a
property.
legal issue that they couldn't find some of the people. It was left to a whole family, and some of them had died, and.
Right.
if-
No, I remember it was a rather
Yeah, the man
complex, situation, and he
attended it
came
3
in.
times,
Oh,
yes.
yeah. Mhm.
So we
Okay.
didn't, we never find it, but I've had people say, wow, look, it worked.
Well, it's important
Oh,
to-
absolutely.
for people to see that.
Okay.
Exactly. Okay, so we'll put that off. I'll keep that on the books, and we'll discuss it at the next meeting.
Excellent.
It's really, there's no fines, there's no harm in carrying it over. There's no fines involved.
Right.
I should think you
Okay,
could sell that property to that whole area there that's getting commercial.
Palmer property.
if they're interested, yeah. Take note, anyone's watching. Okay, so 17-019. Still complaints are coming in about the property. These pictures were taken on the 5th, this past Sunday. Basically, it's just, the stuff is still where it is, and the other vehicle is still there on the property. Unregistered vehicle. It was the board's decision to go ahead and notify the town attorney to file a citation for this. The citation's been signed and sent back to the attorney for service to the owner. So we're at that, and then they're under the, they'll be under the countdown, I guess, at, citation, I believe that fines would be accruing from November.
Fines but no lien.
Correct. Yeah, once the citation's in, it's just documenting that fines had commenced, yeah, that whole thing. No lien at this point.
Okay.
It's still new, it's still fresh.
The owner is not marked here as any elderly, disabled, low income, do we know?
It's a woman. She's not old. She's got a son, I think, who lives with her.
Two sons, yes.
Two sons
Yeah.
who live there. There's no reason for it to look the way it is.
Not
We're gonna have
really.
two dumpsters,
I
right?
wouldn't.
Oh, yeah, we do dumpsters.
And they fill two dumpsters, and then they throw out stuff on the lawn again.
Yeah.
So they're just accruing liens at this point.
Right now, they're at the point where the fines are accumulating, yeah, and we
Fines.
just, right. She'll get the citation, and hopefully she'll come in and discuss things further, once she gets the citation.
Okay.
That would be ideal. Okay, 18-002. This house is finally vacated. The preservation company came in, if you could tell, they took down a lot of the vegetation around the property. If you were to look before and after, it's a world of difference. So the outside of the property, I mean, there's still stuff there. I guess they didn't really want to touch property. They just took care of the vegetation, but it's 90% cleared. The only thing that's remaining, which is, is an issue and still a violation, would be the condition of the house, but it is just a single violation, so we really can't consider it right now blighted property. But again, how you wish to handle this property, this is the condition of it, so right now. Much better than what it was.
And it's still obviously accruing its
Yes.
fines, and the last time we did a lien update was a little less than about 10 months ago, right? June of 2022?
Yes. That
Okay.
was the first lien done. Again, I was, the bank, the owner of the property now, had asked for a status update with regards, from the board as to the status of the lien and the status of, not the lien, I'm sorry, but the status of the fines.
Fines.
Will be continuing to assess fines at some point, and if we want further work to be done, to let them know what it is they need to do to stop the accumulation of fines.
All right, so Robert, if you make a note, when we have the full group here, next time, so maybe we'll try to make a judgment on that in terms of, because I think at this point, it's either time to update the lien with the current fines or make a determination that we want to proceed in a different direction in terms of continuing to assess the fines.
Okay, yeah, that's perfectly fine. That's so marked. Okay. Okay, 18-004, same issues, no changes. All the items that aren't supposed to be on the property are there. Boats, storage trailers,
Backhoe.
construction equipment, all sorts of, all sorts of items. And they're all still there.
I can report to you that the selectmen are still considering the recommendation of this board to commence a foreclosure procedure, and I expect that will be up for actual discussion, if not our next meeting, the meeting after that. But the board is aware of that, and they're actively starting to look at that.
And the last lien on this property, number 2, was back in March of last year, 2023. So just also something that,
Let's make a notation of that, because I think if the decision is made to go forward with the proceeding, we'll want to have an updated, lien. So let's make a note to discuss that with the full board, with the idea of doing a directive next time to
Okay.
update the lien on this one.
very good, okay. Okay, 18-005, no changes in this property again also. It's accumulating fines. The last lien was done in October of last year, so it's about 5 months or so.
The lien.
The lien,
Yeah.
yes, the lien, 5 months or so. It's a lien.
Okay.
And do we know the owner's elderly, disabled, or
No.
He's elderly.
elderly?
Well, there's nobody living there.
Uh,
Yeah, he's elderly, that's, yeah.
He says he lives there, but there's nobody living there.
You say he's elderly?
He says he lives there, yes.
Well, there's no real
No, there's no
direct evidence
evidence.
that he is living
No,
there.
no tire tracks, no path to the doors.
There's cars in the back that are,
They're overgrown.
Broken down.
Yeah, he's not getting those cars out right now.
so, I mean, this has gone on since time began.
Mm-hmm.
What was our option now with this guy?
Continue to accumulate fines and it go the same way as, at some point, and if I understand correctly, if the structure deteriorates to a dangerous condition, that possibly the building department may get involved to condemn the building. And at that point, I think there's a path to force a demolition if need be, but in my tenure here, I've never gotten to that. We've always had enough cooperation. But I think the only thing for us to do is to continue having the property accrue and put the liens up.
A year and 5 months this has been going on. And he's only accumulated 13,800 in fines?
Well, there was a delay. He showed up here. It's been, let's see. Fines started commencing January of last year, yeah. So we're up about, roughly close to $40,000 in fines, roughly.
Am I reading this wrong? It says,
Let's
he
see.
filed town clerk for $13,800.
That was as of October of last year.
So now it's already up to 40?
Well, I'm looking at, I'd have to take a look at the paperwork as to why it's only 13, because according to the records, the fines commenced on January 1st of 2021. However, because we had the second action, if I remember correctly, with George because we had the second where we added those other violations, they didn't come into being approved by the board until October of last year. And it was at that point he decided to start the fines as of that time, instead of going back, all the way back to, we have to go back and look at the minutes of that particular meeting, but I believe that was the train of thought.
My understanding of it was that we would not add the second as a second blight violation.
Correct, that was what the town attorney
But I had
said.
my understanding was that the fines that we have would continue.
Mhm.
And those fines go back to what?
It would be, yeah, it'd be January 1st of last year, 2022.
So we have certainly more than $13,800 in fines.
Well, I can go back and examine the minutes if need be to see if I could find the path of what was decided on the,
Okay.
on it. Definitely. I could report back. I could send you an email as to what we find.
Okay, thanks.
But sure, that's not a problem. Okay, 21-001. No notice from, no communication from the owner's representatives. Property hasn't changed. It's still overgrown. The garage is still, and you can see all the overgrown behind the garage. The garage doors are breached there with, becoming a nice home for critters on the property. And so that one's still accruing fines. The last lien done on that particular property was done in June of 2022. So that one you might want to consider updating. We could bring that to the next.
Why don't we do that as
Yes.
well?
Okay, very good. Okay, here's our new one. It's new case 23-001. This was a complaint that came through Q Alert, and looking at it, you could see at one point just the front of the property becoming overgrown, like that, a downed mailbox. You could see the rest of the front of the property. The vegetation's right up against the house and starting to crawl up the house. This is the side. You can see the moss and everything covering the roof and invading the gutters, and the condition of the fencing and the yard along the side as well. And so this would definitely, in my opinion, fall under it, but we only just started with this, so I've only just prepared the violation, the warning notice that would go to them. So if we wait and just push this to next meeting, we'll see if we get any kind of results from the initial notice.
Okay.
But we'll keep we'll keep this on the paper.
Do we know whose car that is in the driveway?
The only thing I can find out is, I can only find out if it's registered.
Right.
I can't find out a particular name, but I can find out through public record, through the DMV, whether or not it has a valid registration.
Do you know
I
if-
can do that. The vehicle it doesn't look abandoned, and it's not there all the time, so I tend to think that it's.
Do we think there's anyone living there, or? And I apologize if you said that.
Yeah,
I
no,
wasn't listening.
it shows activity.
Okay.
So it's not like the others. I think people are living there, yeah, but I don't know, Ally, I haven't even got a chance to forward
Yeah,
this
I was
one
gonna
to you yet.
No,
Just-
this is the first I'm hearing, I'm just looking up the code.
So-
Yeah, exactly. I didn't get a chance. I was gonna, once we started the paperwork, to send you the information and the owners, to see if there's, anything that the town's doing for them.
So this isn't on your radar, Ally?
No, this is the first time we've been hearing them.
Yeah, it's brand new. That just came, the complaint just came in the very end of February. And I did the initial drive-by last Sunday, on the 5th, just a couple of days ago. Okay, and that's all we have for today.
Thank you for your superior work as always.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any other business they wish to propose at this juncture? All right, having no requests, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting. Michael moves, Sue seconds. All in favor? That's it for today, and thank you, everybody.